All right, you guys ready? It's nice to have a full house. I feel like the last 2 years it's been hard to get people in this type of environment, hasn't it? Now, I do see a couple from unfamiliar faces in the crowd. I just want to say, regardless of how many times you've been here for these classes, welcome. Welcome. You're better because you're showing up, right? Anybody ever buy a gym membership and not show up to the gym and expect to get fantastic results? Yeah, I mean, you paid all that money. Give it to me, right? Six pack, just bank account straight to my abs, right? No. So yeah, I am Dr. Jake Tucker. I'm the owner of the clinic, and I'm excited tonight because what we're going to be talking about is really pertinent to each and every one of you. Some of you may have noticed this pile over here. Yeah, and I hope most of you have gotten an explanation of what's in this pile and how that's relevant. But basically what you have here is just a little less than the average American sugar consumption on an annual basis. So what that means is that 50% of Americans eat more than that. If the average American consumes this amount, 50% of Americans consume more than this. I'm one of the, you don't have to call yourself out. So if you break this down further though, this section here of 10-pound bags would be just soda consumption. Yeah, if you're not doing soda, you're probably doing better than most Americans because sweetened beverages in general count for that pile. But what also counts as a sweetened beverage is juice. What also counts as a sweetened beverage would be skim milk. Really? Surprise, surprise. Yeah, because it's all about where the sugar is coming from. If all you were to do is just consume sugar from the right amount of fruits and the right amount of vegetables that you should be eating on a daily basis, this first pile, those 3 10-pound bags would be all you would consume in a year. Yeah. If you want to break it down a little further, what should you be consuming in a day? Well, most of us will consume this in a week if you follow the average. But if you break this down into days, you should be getting about, or if you're average, you're getting about 2/3 cup of sugar every single day from all sources, right? Now, most of those sources, right? Because I said this is the soda over here. This over here, this is going to be added to processed, prepackaged, pre-made foods. And why is it added to so much food? Because we're so concerned with keeping our cheap food cheap that it's cheaper to add sugar to bad food than it is to actually eat good food that tastes good.
That's ironic.
It's really ironic. So you go down this pathway though, and where do you end up? You end up in our health care crisis as it stands right now, where 1/3 of Americans die of heart disease, 1/3 of Americans have type 2 diabetes. Sorry, this is not flipping for me.
While you're not looking,
Yeah.
Too much sugar.
Yes, ma'am.
I didn't hear that what percentage is in
The type.
sugar beverages.
Oh, I didn't say a percentage. It's about 100 pounds of sugar a year.
100 pounds?
Yeah, and that I'm overstating it a little bit, but they say it's about 66 pounds in sodas every single year, and then most people don't break it down from there. And so you assume how many more people are drinking juice, thinking they're having a healthier option than soda, not realizing that one juice is the amount of sugar you should be consuming on a daily basis just in that one glass. One juice, 1 8-ounce glass of juice has enough sugar to sustain you for the entire day if you're doing it right. Problem is you can't do it right and drink a glass of juice. So how do we do it better? And that's really what I want to go through with you guys tonight is how do we do this thing better? Because we don't want to end up like the average American, right? The average American dies of heart disease. The average American dies of cancer. The average American has diabetes while they're doing those two things. And if they don't have diabetes, they have pre-diabetes. Over 2/3 of Americans are either pre-diabetic or diabetic, right? All of us are stressed. All of us are inflamed. And it's because of a standard American lifestyle that we live. So my mission, not just here tonight, but in this office, is to make sure that that doesn't have to be you. And we're going to do that through the 5 essentials. Now me, I have to be a good example of that, right? And so who was here last month? A few of you, right? We issued a 30-day challenge. And some of you took it, some of you didn't. I did not successfully complete that challenge. In fact, this last week was a huge speed bump for me. Anybody that's been here in the office has known I've struggled a little bit with my voice. I'm hoping that my voice holds up tonight because it hasn't held up this last week, but it threw me off energy-wise too, to the point where I wasn't doing my workouts like I should be. But we're going to go through that challenge. I'm going to issue it again. And here's my challenge for you tonight. Up through these last 2 years, my directive to you has been do one more thing. Show up to one more class, learn and apply one more thing, and by the time we get to the average life expectancy of the American, you're going to be living so different than the average American that you're going to be way healthier. But some of you can't afford to do that. Some of you need to draw a line in the sand or the sugar, and you need to say, today's the day, and take not just that easy step, but that massive step in the right direction, reclaim your health, and actually implement all these things. Because you have to do that at some time. If you don't do that at some time, eventually all these bad habits are going to catch up and weigh you down. Because it's habits, and it's all between your ears. Not really, but really. Because everything you do comes with a mindset behind it. And so we're going to build some good habits. So what is the standard American lifestyle? Well, basically this for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, right? Now, believe it or not, when you consume this in the United States, my biggest concern is actually how much of that is in there. Because it doesn't look, right, like this has very much of that in there. But if we were to actually break this down, you would get most of your sugar for the day just from the bun.
Yes. Wow.
If you were to break what's between there down, you think that's sugar-free? You think that's 100% pure meat? No. Let's go to one of these, right? We won't talk about those. Now we're getting dirty. Yeah, lots of sugar in there. What about that guy? What's in that seasoning that's sprinkled on top of it? Just the seasoning. How about the breading? Even if it doesn't have the added, it's going to be full of things that your body treats as sugar, right? And so somebody might look at this pile and say, oh, that's dirty keto. Yeah, no, that's very dirty keto, and that's a very easy way to set yourself up for failure. There's a lot of ways to do this wrong. But basically what this breaks down to are these 5 main reasons why the standard American lifestyle fails. Number one, we have ultra-processed foods. That's our main go-to. All of our favorite foods. If we were to, go around the room right now, raise our hands and say, oh, my favorite food's ice cream, my favorite food's pizza, my favorite food's burgers, my favorite food's, hot dogs or corn dogs, or, basically I'm listing my kids' favorite foods right now, right? Because that's where we established this. We developed a habit of desiring certain foods, and then we became grown-up kids with no parents to step in and say this. And in fact, we got a permission slip from our government or from our doctor saying, actually, all that fat stuff is really bad for you. The carb stuff is the good stuff. We're going to pull the fat out. And if you pull fat out of processed food, what's it taste like? Cardboard. And what makes cardboard taste good? Sugar. Yeah, cover it in sugar and deep fry it. And now you're at the Texas County Fair, right? And so we got to do it a little different. We have to stop eating the ultra processed foods. We have enormous portion sizes, and the reason why we have enormous portion sizes is because we have so few and low level and low quality nutrients, macro and micro, in these foods that we have to eat more just to feel full. But the problem is that we get so little of what's actually in there, even when we eat so much, that an hour later, we're hungry again. Now, it is very energy dense. It's coming with tons of calories. So while we're bloating up, we're also starving ourselves of the things that we need. And then we have a low energy expenditure on top of things, right? We don't actually do the hard work like our grandparents or our great-grandparents did, do we? No, I haven't wrestled a cow lately. No, and that counts you guys, right? I wrestle some of you guys. Yeah. But yeah, the energy expenditure is not out there like it should be. So we need to start combating those things. So what we end up with when we do those things are the diseases of civilization. And what we see in every industrialized nation is 5 major things: acne, obesity, diabetes, cancer, and heart disease. What don't we see in cultures that have plenty? Those 5 things. And not to say that they're living better than us, right? Because they're dying at 30 of malaria or, typhoid fever. No, we have things that allow us to get past those ages, but we also have things because of our wealth and opportunity that actually lead to those 5 things. So we definitely want to start flipping on its head. So if we're going to combat those things, here's what we believe we have to do. Number 1, your nutrition matters. What you put in your mouth ultimately becomes you. Number 2, toxicity is a problem, in our food supply especially. We're getting so many endocrine disruptors that when you start talking about insulin and ghrelin and leptin and some of these hormones that help you regulate sugar and when it's coming in and when it's going out, it almost doesn't matter because it's blocked. Oxygen is crucial. Where do you get oxygen from? The air. How do you get more? Exercise, right? You got to move your body. You got to create a demand for it, and you become oxygen efficient when you create a demand for it. Healthy mindset is vital, right? If you don't understand these things, if you don't know how they work, is it going to work for you or against you? Against you, because you're going to fall into the same patterns that your parents and your grandparents and your great-grandparents fell into. And oh my goodness, diabetes is now genetic. Oh, just as much as the lifestyles that created that diabetes got passed down to you is genetic, right? And then a balanced nervous system is the foundation. Let's go into that one real quick, because for people that are new to this thing, you might not understand fully yet that unless your brain is communicating with your pancreas, you cannot produce insulin. If you cut all the nerves that go to your pancreas, is it possible for your pancreas to create the insulin you need to take sugar where it needs to go? No or no? No. And so we need to make sure that every neuron in your body is firing the way that it's supposed to within all possibilities. Now, there are 3 things that interfere with that. Number 1 is physical, and I call these the 3 T's. So traumas, physical traumas. Everybody knows a slip and a fall can damage cells, tissues, whatever. Neurology can be impacted by physical traumas, right? Concussions, anybody hear of those? Yep. Most of the damage that's done in concussions, though, is actually done in the neck. And most doctors don't look at that until after the concussion symptoms continue to persist and last even after the brain matter is healed. If you have a loss of your cervical curve, let's say you go from there to there, your risk of having a concussion goes up astronomically. I've been meeting with lawyers lately, and I've been explaining to them, because they don't understand why some of their healthy clients have the worst damage in car accidents, with the details of the car accident being so minor. And I tell them, look, health is not about how they feel. It's not about how often they went to the gym. It's not even about what they put in their bodies. Health is a matter of function. And if you started off with a neck that looks like this, and then you have a car accident, you are more likely to have long-term damage than someone who had a neck like this, but ate like crap and never exercised. Just because of the neurology. Second category is the emotional. Anybody ever have stress headaches? Yeah, it happens sometimes, right? You get overwhelmed or you start getting negative thoughts and you give yourself this anxiety because you get in this feedback loop where you start only focusing on the negative and all you get out of negative thoughts are negative results. It impacts your neurology. It breaks it down faster. And then chemicals interfere with this. So you got your 3 T's, your traumas, your thoughts, your toxins. There are certain chemicals that actually attack the brain, attack neurons. One of our favorite cleaners, bleach. It's a neurotoxin. And guess what? It doesn't actually kill mold. Yeah. So you have to recognize that those are major interferences in the neurological healing pathway. Now, sugar is a silent killer. It will lead to weight gain. It will lead to heart disease. It'll lead to diabetes. It'll lead to cancer. It'll lead to depression. It'll lead to low energy. It'll lead to a fatty liver. It'll lead to skin issues, cellular aging. Sugar consumption actually releases something called AGEs, advanced glycolation end products, and it'll lead to acne. You'll age faster, your skin will get worse, your body will start withering out from underneath you because guess what? You don't find pure sugar unprotected in nature. When God designed you and God designed this world, He made it perfect. Right? He didn't make any mistakes with you. He didn't make any mistakes with this earth. But guess what we did? We corrupted it. We sought our own pleasures, didn't we? And sugar was one of those. You know, we started unraveling the sugar cane and breaking it down and beating it into little crystals. And then from there, we started refining it even further, pulling out the last remaining nutrients in it so we could have the purest form of sugar. And we got glucose. And then we said, that's not enough. Let's put this thing in a lab. Let's create sucrose. Oh, that's not enough. You know, that corn stuff is pretty sweet. You know, honey is really sweet too. Honey, that's fructose. Let's put that in a lab, really concentrate that. We'll get high fructose corn syrup. You won't find any of those things in nature unprotected. The closest you get is raw honey. But guess what it's protected by? Bees. You can't get more of a handful of honeycomb without either killing the bees or the bees killing you, right? Or putting yourself in a bee farm and smoking them to death. All right. So we've created this problem. And part of the problem is actually how sugar works in your brain. See, God built into our brains a sign that when you consume sweet foods, that those foods are also safe for you. When you eat something sweet in nature, it's not toxic, right? You pick an orange off of a tree and it tastes sweet. Guess what? It's ripe to eat. It's good. If you pick an orange off a tree and it's bitter, guess what? It's not good for you. And it actually has lectins in there that will attack your gut lining. It's a plant's protective mechanism. Bitter plants are toxic for you. But it's 8 times sweeter. Sugar is 8 times more addictive, than cocaine. Lights up the same area of your brain. But guess what? It only takes a 10-day sugar cleanse to get off of the addiction. Just 10 days. But you have to go 100%. Some of you have to draw that line in the sand. But I can't draw that line for you. I can say you might need to, but I can't do it. I can't go home with you. I can't hold your hand. I can stand here. I can give you all the information that you need to do it, but you have to be the one that takes that action. So some people would argue that sugar is a nutrient. Right? You need the things that have sugar in them. You need the fruits, you need the vegetables. But there's things called essential nutrients and there's things called non-essential nutrients. Essential nutrients are the ones that your body cannot create on its own. And there's no carbohydrate on the planet that's considered an essential nutrient. You don't need carbs to survive. Your body can, on its own, create everything that you would get from a food item that is pure carbohydrates. Now, fats, there's essential fatty acids, proteins, there's essential amino acids. You're not going to be able to skip out on those things. But carbohydrates are the one food group that you can completely skip, and God's already built into your body a process that can create the things like energy, right? Sugar is there as a very, very efficient source of energy. You take in, a tablespoon of sugar, and you're going to get out 32, 36 units of ATP. That's in the presence of oxygen. Now you hold your breath and you try to do that underwater, you only get 4. But that's a different discussion altogether. You can go back to biochemistry class for that one. But basically, when it comes down to it, the way that we consume sugar makes it a toxin. Why does it make it a toxin? Because it interferes with the healing process. It creates inflammation. And one of the ways that we just did this, some of us less than 2 months ago, is the holiday season. Guess what, guys? With the amount of holidays that we have and we take, holiday season is 1/6 of your life. 1/6 of your life. And guess what? Over the holidays, we gain 500% more weight per week than at any other time of the year. But that's 1/6 of our lives. 1/6 of our year is gaining 500%. And then you get those sugar crashes during the holidays, and you're not feeling fully yourself. It's not a good way to do it. And this is, talk about micronutrients and getting destroyed. Chromium is an essential micronutrient. It's called a trace mineral. You don't need very much of it. We're talking micrograms. Most of you, I'm giving advice on milligrams or IUs or things that you can measure out in a teaspoon. With chromium, you need micrograms, so little pieces of a teaspoon. Not even like a third or a fourth, like hundredths of this. But the standard American diet, you're only getting about a third of the chromium that you need. But the average sugar consumption from the standard American diet also blocks out the absorption of over 2/3 of that chromium, meaning that the standard American is drastically deficient in something that actually helps to regulate glucose. And so when we put diabetics on chromium, guess what happens? Their blood sugar starts regulating better. And it doesn't take very much. Now, one of the main things I love about this is it doesn't just come in chromium. Our version also comes with the things that help chromium absorb into your system. Because a lot of stuff that you take, it either burns up in the stomach or it flushes out the other side. And so you need to take a high quality version of this. This is why we take the chelate, because it does actually absorb into your body and where it needs. But I don't eat sugar, right? And I actually, when I was rolling this out of Walmart, guess what happened? Anybody guess? Well, yeah, one bag did break. But yeah, I got some attention, right? People are like, what are you baking? Right? Where are you going? I will go with you. Right? No, but I told the gal that was asking me, look, this is the average amount of sugar that a typical American will consume in a year. And she's like, oh, I'm so glad I don't eat that much sugar. Now, this is a gal that shops at Walmart.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
If you shop at Walmart, you consume that much sugar in a year. How do I know? Because just about everything in there is processed. Now, you may not put those bags directly into the food you eat, but when you're shopping at Walmart, what are you looking for? You're looking for cheap foods. And cheap foods aren't going to sell unless they get them to taste good. And so where's this coming from? It's coming from additives. It's coming from those sweet foods, the sweet flavors that we like. And so we have to know where they're coming from. We have to look, we have to flip the box around, right? Pick it up, look at the back, and don't just look at the sexy stuff up here. You got to look down and go over to the ingredients list, which is usually in tiny print way down here. What does it actually add into it? And guess what you're going to see? They're going to try to trick you. They're going to say the first ingredient is something like maltodextrin. I'll even call it corn maltodextrin, right? Because corn's a vegetable. Corn must be good for you. What is maltodextrin? Where is it on the list? Whoop, right there, maltodextrin. It's sugar. Guess what's the #1 ingredient in a protein sold at Walmart, or a protein sold at GNC, or a protein sold at, X nutrition shop? Maltodextrin. You can't say this is 100% pure whey protein and then also stick maltodextrin in there and call it sugar-free. And they're also going to do this. They're not going to just have maltodextrin. They're going to have maltodextrin, and then they're going to have crystalline fructose, or they're going to have date sugar. Date sugar sounds healthier, right? Right? Well, what is date sugar? It's sugar. Oh, let's put some beet sugar in there. That sounds healthier, right? What is beet sugar? It's sugar, right? How about some of this? Corn syrup salads sounds healthier, right? No, it's fructose, right? Corn syrup is fructose, but it crystallized, right? I mean, you go down this list and it's just amazing how much of this, some of it you might even consider healthy, like coconut sugar. Still sugar. Now, there are some benefits to some of these things over others. There's a scale, right?
I've just seen Florida crystals. That looks really sketchy to me.
Florida crystals,
That
yeah.
might not be sugar.
Yeah, it might not. And honestly, between this and the artificial sugars or artificial sweeteners, I would rather have you have some of the more natural versions of this. I don't think the gal I was having the discussion with is in the room, but I may have had this discussion with multiple of you. Yeah, I would rather have you drink a actual soda like a Coca-Cola Classic than a Diet Coke. Because the effects of the artificial sweetener are worse on your hormones and worse on your insulin levels and more likely to make you diabetic.
What about that
Zero? Is it an artificial sweetener?
I don't know.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is I can answer all these questions for you, but guess what you're going to do tomorrow? You're going to forget. Why? Because I have 3 kids and I know what I do when someone tells me something, right? I go home, I deal with their mess, and I wake up in the morning, I'm like, oh shoot, what did I talk to that doctor about? Diabetes, that's right, it was diabetes.
Or is it I can put the word out what you said. The main sugar.
Oh, aspartame, sucralose, you guys name them.
But the 100 times more what we used to have it because it's stronger than.
Oh yeah, it's sweeter. It's sweeter than it is. And anything that's sweet is going to release insulin into your bloodstream. Anything that tastes sweet is going to release insulin into your bloodstream. And if it doesn't have sugar to bind to, what's it going to do? Nothing good. You guys don't want me to bore you with the details, I bet. No, it's not good. So natural versus artificial sugars. Now, I would much rather have you have something like this that is high in sugar, but in this environment, right? It does still have sugar, but what else does it have? Fiber and nutrients, right? We're going to get into fiber here in a little bit, but the natural sugar that is found in the fruit, not extracted from the fruit, but actually in the fruit, is going to have a lower glycemic and insulin response in your body than the sugar that's extracted or created in the lab. All right. Now the canned fruit, well, what is it in? More often than not, they're putting it in the syrup, right? You know, that's part of the reason why I love the pineapple, canned pineapple, right? Or canned peaches or canned pears, because they add the syrup to it, right? And that's all the ingredients for, that pineapple upside down cake. You're not dumping that sugar water out. That's going into the batch, right? And so that's where we start getting ourselves in trouble. Now, sugar fuels inflammation. Just a tablespoon of sugar, and I've done this demonstration in the past. I'd pick out a strong guy, give him a tablespoon of sugar, push on his arm, and guess what happens? It weakens you. It weakens you. Why? Because it creates inflammation in your body. And that inflammation from just a couple of tablespoons of sugar will last for hours. Guess what that inflammation does? It compromises every system in your body. I'm very concerned right now doing research on the spike proteins that are in COVID and the COVID shots and all this stuff. I'm concerned that it's creating an underlying inflammation to not just everybody that got the vaccine or got COVID, but people that got the spike proteins just from being around people that had those things. Sugar's worse. And we all have it. All the time. Right? It's unavoidable, right? It's literally unavoidable to get off of sugar completely without going to like something like a carnivore diet. Carnivore diet. And it is what it sounds like, right? Yeah. But it's absolutely going to do that. Now, for most people, it's because we do this with our coffee flavored sugar beverage, right? For breakfast every morning. Yours is black because you're dunking the sugar in it, right? Yeah. But guess what? We're going to get into hormones. Guess what the cortisol release from the caffeine does to your sugar levels? Even without adding sugar to your diet. Pulls it right out of your liver. Caffeine. Caffeine. So it doesn't have to just be coffee. You can just have anything. Yeah. 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 So caffeine, it releases certain neurotransmitters in your brain. Those neurotransmitters activate the cortisol or the adrenal glands. The adrenal glands then release cortisol into your bloodstream. That cortisol gives you a little boost. So do the neurotransmitters. So do the other hormones in the cascade. But cortisol is also a stress hormone. It puts your body into a fight or flight response. And so when your body's in a fight or flight response, it wants the most efficient form of energy possible because you need to fight off that tiger, or you need to run away from that bear, or you need to pick up your car off of your grandchild. And you can do incredible things when you're in the fight or flight response.
So I bet you've heard of like adrenaline, and that's
Yeah.
what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Epinephrine.
Yeah.
Those are those neurotransmitters.
Yeah. Adrenaline, epinephrine, norepinephrine. But yeah, it just leads down this cascade until you get to cortisol release. And that cortisol is going to start demanding sugar as energy to and from the cells. And it does make for efficient energy transfer. But guess what? When you're just sipping your coffee in the morning, you don't need it, right? And you create a dependency on it. I know. I was drinking 8 cups a day in college. Yeah, I was creating this stress response, and I was not learning better for all the caffeine that I was taking in. Guess what I was doing? I was putting on weight. And it wasn't just marriage weight either.
When I came down with diabetes after March, they told me it was stress induced.
Mhm.
Nobody explained that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Being a good Swede, I drink coffee. You know?
Yeah.
And my grandkids had to follow the end. I had coffee.
Yeah.
Maybe 6 cups, they used to only have 2.
Yeah. Yep.
And they didn't know what to do.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm right there with you. Like,
Yeah.
Yep.
Every time I drink coffee, it always makes me tired.
Yep.
I want to go to sleep.
So that just shows there's a dependency. There's a dependency on the coffee at that point, right? But I'm also not here to vilify coffee. Coffee is one of the most antioxidant-rich beverages on the planet. Some research is showing that the more coffee you drink, the longer your life expectancy. Yeah, and so coffee is good for you, but it can absolutely do some bad things to you if you do it wrong. And there's a wrong way to do it, a right way to do it. And this is turning into a coffee talk, so I'll just go ahead. So first thing is just look out for your additives. What are you throwing into the coffee? Second thing is what's the source, right? If it's coming and it's sprayed with pesticides, those pesticides themselves are estrogen mimickers. They can disrupt that hormone cascade. Third thing we want to look at is, are you getting too much caffeine? A little bit of caffeine to get you just jump started in the morning, a little bit is fine. But guess what? Coffee is one of the most caffeine-rich beverages on the planet. You don't need that much. So guess what I drink in the morning? decaf. Not because it's uncaffeinated, but because it has so much less caffeine in it, it doesn't actually have the negative effects on it. And actually, you don't want to do regular decaf coffee because they use, again, chemicals and actually really dangerous carcinogenic, cancer-causing chemicals. I use water processed decaf. And you have to look for it. And yes, it's more expensive. But guess what? Cancer is more expensive. Right? My kids living without their dad is way too expensive. So I spend the money now to make sure that I don't have to spend way more later, right? Yes, ma'am.
I have trouble finding the creamer that's not making me sick. or
Yes.
affecting my sugar.
So, and this one's more of a personal thing. So creamer can throw you off completely. So I like lots of creamer in my coffee. I think it makes a healthier coffee if you do it right. And so right now, I really love oat milk as a creamer. Yep. Now oat milk is a little higher on the glycemic index than some of the other non-dairy creamers are. But you can find coconut milk. Coconut milk is probably the best creamer because of the medium chain triglycerides that are available there. And not just the boxed coconut milk, because that doesn't have much of those. The canned coconut milk. Canned, the one that's got like this thick layer of cream on top, actually just scoop that cream right into your coffee. Yeah, that stuff is the best. Now, flavor-wise, I still prefer the oat milk.
Yeah, I tried just going to the cow.
Yeah,
But then my cancer doctor said,
Yeah.
You can't do that because.
Yeah, if you're gonna- yeah, hormones and everything. So if you're gonna go to heavy creamer, and I would go heavy creamer or half and half, or the thick stuff from the cow, I would make sure that that is organic, grass-fed stuff at a minimum. And ideally, you're getting it pasture raised 100% of its life, and you're getting it before the homogenization and the pasteurization. So it's not breaking down the proteins and the molecules in there, the chains of nutrients. So yeah, a lot of stuff on coffee.
Okay.
Anybody else want the coffee talk?
How about tea, coffee? Because
Yeah.
my doctor wanted me to switch to tea, coffee.
Yeah, so tea is way better in general. If you drink green tea, there's way more health benefits of like green tea in the research. Black tea, a little less so. Herbal tea, more so, but herbal tea is by nature decaffeinated. So that's not what you're looking for typically, unless it's just a cold day. So they've come up with tea coffee to kind of get some of both. I personally can't stand the flavor, so I'd never do it. But
It is hard to get used
go for it. Go for it. If you like it, absolutely do it. But kind of same thing with tea as with coffee. If it's coming from a source that's spraying it with pesticides, those can create the estrogen mimic and the hormone mimickers that create all sorts of issues. So what's the solution? Not to your coffee problems, but to everything. Jesus, and then the 5 essentials, right? So number 1 essential is core chiropractic. And we call it core chiropractic because chiropractic is the only health system in the world that focuses on prevention and wellness as it comes to your central nervous system. The only system in the world. That's it. And if you're going to have a healthy nervous system, you have to have somebody that's really experienced at looking at this to know what they're looking at to keep you healthy. Number 2, nutrition, right? What you put in your body matters. Number 3, that mindset. Number 4, fitness, getting that oxygen in there. Number 5, toxicity. So let's break this down a little further. So social strategies. Don't go to an event hungry. If you go to church and you're hungry and you're just going to Sunday school, and guess what somebody brought? Cookies or that box of donuts, and they've cut them in half, and there's just little crumbs along the sides. Or they got the little Timbits like Tim Hortons used to have, or the donut holes as we call them out here. Or, you just get a crumb. Crumb has 0 calories and no sugar impact, right? Yeah. Oh, let's just pound up that donut. And now we got a plate full of crumbs, and yeah, no, it goes right out the window. But yeah, even just a little bit of sugar is going to kickstart that hormone cascade, and it's going to make you crave more. So even if you're good this week, you've also just established a habit. So what should you do before you go to church? Eat breakfast, and ideally not donuts, right? Make yourself a smoothie, get yourself an omelet, something that's good for you to get yourself going. Number 2, focus on the activities, right? If there's donuts in the back, don't be in the back. Focus on what's going on in the front. Focus on what pastor's saying or the Sunday school teacher, what the discussion is going on in the room, or if you're at a party, go dance. Dancing is the opposite of consuming sugar, right? That actually burns sugar out of your body. It doesn't even need insulin to do it. Yeah, don't linger near the food table. I think we covered that one. Have a conversation. Yep, these are people. They're not just things that you talk at while you shove sugar in your face, right? No, I feel like we've forgotten this these last 2 years. We've hidden, right, for the last 2 years, whether behind a mask or just by staying home. And we've forgotten that we're designed to live in community. Isolation is actually bad for us, believe it or not. Plan ahead. Hey, guess what? I know there's going to be donuts in that classroom. Even if I'm wrong, if I plan that there's going to be donuts in that classroom, and I know that I shouldn't have them, and I think about strategies in advance to avoid getting a donut, I'm less likely to have the donut. Bring a healthy dish. If you go to a potluck with no food, guess what food you have to rely on? The people who weren't sitting in this classroom learning the healthy strategies about how to eat better, and them making food choices for you. So bring something that's healthy. I always bring guacamole. Everybody loves guacamole, and it's a great healthy alternative to a lot of the stuff that you're dipping your chips in. Then stay away from the inside rows at the grocery store. Why? Because guess what? You're on your way to your party. Oh, I forgot, it's potluck, gotta grab something. Don't go up and down the inside aisles, because guess what's in there? The sugar. Yeah, I was like dead center of Walmart, like right there. Didn't have to look hard. Basically a big Target on it. No, that's the wrong store, but yep. And then balance the sugar with food, right? Start by eating the healthy stuff. And for some of you, that's the baby step you need to take, right? I'm not here to say everybody's tonight is, this is your line in the sand moment. No, I'm not the one that picks the moments. You're the one that picks the moments. That's between you and God, your significant other. I don't pick the moments. I can point out that there needs to be a moment, but let's start with some low-carb veggies. Guess what low-carb veggies do? Fill you up. They help give you the things that your body needs to deal with that sugar rush. Like you see that plate of brownies, like I gotta have a brownie. Nope, Dr. Jake said I gotta start with veggies first, get that big plate of salad, get going through that. Guess what? That big plate of salad isn't going to make you not want that brownie, but when you go to eat that brownie, you're going to be mostly full, and so you're not going to want to fill yourself with brownies, right? Next, eat a variety of greens. So go beyond iceberg lettuce. Go beyond carrot sticks dipped in ranch sauce, right? Take that next step down the line. If you like iceberg, have you tried romaine? Do you like romaine? Good. Okay. Next step, let's go to spinach. Do you like spinach? Great. Next step, let's go to chard. Do you like chard? Don't know because you've never seen it or tried it. Okay. Once you determine that, okay, next step, let's try kale. Do you like kale? Well, probably not because it's so thick. Guess how you will like kale though? Cut it into little pieces, put it on a baking sheet, drizzle some olive oil or avocado oil over it, sprinkle some sea salt on top of it. If you like spice, sprinkle a little chili powder or cayenne seasoning on there, and then stick it in the oven at 350 for 10, 20 minutes. Pull it out and guess what it tastes like? Doesn't taste like kale anymore. I'm not going to tell you it tastes like chips. But it's crispy, it's salty, and it actually tastes good. That's a great step in the right direction. Replace regular high carb and fat chips with roasted kale. It's fantastic. You can even cook it like in a saucepan, like just, sorry, I'm forgetting my cooking terms. But yeah, put some, avocado oil down, saute. Yeah, you can saute it there. You can stir fry it. You can do whatever. It gets crisp in a pan as well. It's just healthier if you bake it. Water infused with fruit or veggies may be more flavorful than just water. All right, if you're trying to come off of soda, if you're trying to come off of lemonade, you may not just want to go to straight water. Right? That's too cold turkey. But if you put some water or put some lemon in your water and you put a couple drops of stevia in there, it may not be lemonade, but it's a good half, excuse me, good half step away from where you were before, and it's a much healthier option. Guess what? Lemon helps your body detox. It's got amazing health benefits. It's full of antioxidants. Lower sugar fruits are a better option than those high in sugar. So what's a high sugar fruit? Banana. Yeah, banana is more, like, even though it's a healthy option, it's going to make you crave things that are sweeter than something like a berry would. A Granny Smith apple is not going to make you crave a sweet as much as a Gala apple will, just because of the sugar content in those different fruits or vegetables. A grapefruit is less likely to make you crave a sugary sweet than an orange would. Those are all healthy options, but there's healthier choices in that spectrum. And the lower down the glycemic index you go, the more likely you are to set yourself up for success.
What about, let's go back to banana.
Yeah.
I heard green banana
Mm-hmm.
is better for you than a yellow banana, because green bananas don't have that much sugar until it turns yellow. And that's for kids.
You're right, but it's not the whole truth, right? All right. So anything that's green is not ripe to eat yet. Now there's different variations of that green. Like you get solid green bananas, you're going to have a hard time getting them out of the peel. But it's not ripened to the point where it hasn't lost its lectins yet. The most famous lectin is gluten. Yeah, gluten, plant lectins, they tear up your digestive system and they create other health issues. And actually, let's go all the way the other way. Brown bananas, most sweet, right? And syrupy in some cases. They actually found nutrients in there that are anti-cancer. They have cancer fighting properties in them. So it's not always a straight yes and no, black and white. There's variations in different people in different health situations, should and should not. Now, if you've got, let's say, the standard American beer gut, probably have leaky gut. If you're diabetic, you also have to concern yourself with how much sugar you're taking in. So we have to do two things. We have to heal the gut by allowing the gut lining to heal by avoiding things like lectins and gluten and probably dairy in there as well. Identify some food sensitivities. Consume a lot of things rich in collagen and vitamin C and vitamin D3. I mean, we could go down the whole perspective for you if you want. But we also have to control those sugars while we're doing that too. So something like a juicing cleanse might not necessarily work for the standard American because of that sugar issue. But if you're just in one or the other category, now we can do some more things. The less bad stuff you have going on in your health, the more things that we can do. But the further down the line you go and the further your health goes, the more limited we are in what's available to you. Yes?
The juice that knocks me out.
Yeah.
And it's my favorite.
Oh, we all love it. Used to take communion to that stuff, right? All right. Keep full with higher fiber foods. So everybody knows what fiber is, right? Yep, there's a soluble and insoluble fibers. Things like legumes, right? Beans, lentils, really rich in fiber, really going to fill you up without spiking your blood sugar. Add healthy fats. Healthy fats fill you up. Now, they're not going to replace the sugar craving. There's some high fiber fruits and veggies that do taste sweeter, but add those healthy fats so you're full anyways. And then protein. Now, you can overdo protein, but most of us are a long ways from overdoing protein. You get too much protein, and yes, it does turn to sugar. Most of us are not even close. I mean, unless you're taking 5 scoops of the protein every single day, you're probably not even beginning to approach that right now. But it's essential for your cells and muscles to repair from damage. And so, especially if you're going to go into an environment where you're going to get more free radicals from the foods that you're eating or from the environment that you're in, you want to watch out for those. So, what are some natural sweeteners that we can use? What are some good ones? Stevia. Stevia is a great one. It's herbal. It is 100 times sweeter than sugar, but you don't have to consume as much. You just have to know what you need, what you want for what you're doing. And guess what? At this point in history and technology, they've got some pretty great tasting stevia out there that's also healthy. And you do have to watch out.
What's it called?
Stevia.
Steve.
Stevia. Yes. Stevia. No. The ones that I had out for the drinks, that was actually a combination of stevia, monk fruit sweetener, which is another herbal sweetener or from monk fruit. So I guess not herbal technically, but a fruit sugar that's not actually sugar. And I think it had a little bit of erythritol in there as well, which is a sugar alcohol, which not all sugar alcohols are created equal, but erythritol amongst the sugar alcohols are probably the next best. So I would say start with stevia, try to develop a taste for it. If you start feeling bad, start having some digestive issues, it may be that you have a mild ragweed allergy that you didn't know about. And stevia is not in the ragweed family. It's a distant cousin. Distant cousin. But people that are extremely sensitive to ragweed have been known to flare up with stevia. If that's the case, then just don't do it. Now, I'm not here to say that stevia is Jesus Christ reborn in plant form. All right? I'm not going to say that. No, good. No, but it is a great sugar replacement. Monk fruit would be your next step. It's slightly higher up that glycemic index. But just remember, no matter how safe these are, if you get too much of anything, it's going to be bad for you. Water will drown you if you drink too much of it, right? You get too much protein, it starts turning into sugar. You get too much broccoli, guess what you turn? Green. Get too much carrot, you turn orange.
So sweet and low is not.
No, that's fully opposite. I would rather have you do that stuff than sweet and low. Yeah.
What about dark brown sugar?
Dark brown, so now we're getting in the range of bad sugars I want you to avoid, but like on the better side of bad, right? So molasses is up there, raw honey is up there. Like, we get down to stevia, that's the best. Stevia, monk fruit sweetener, erythritol, coconut palm sugar. That's going to be a big jump up the glycemic index though, so it's not safe for diabetics. It's a little safer, depending on it, how much fiber you're putting around it, but it's like, how close to this end do you really want to get? Like, we want to stay down here as much as possible. Now, practical side of things, right? Because you're going to be wanting to make cakes and donuts and all this stuff. Erythritol and monk fruit sweetener are going to bake way better than stevia is. Stevia is not going to bake. It's not going to hold anything together. You might add a little bit to help the sweetness out, which I find the combination of stevia and erythritol does way better as far as recreating flavors of things I like than just stevia does. But it's not going to taste exactly the same. Yes.
How about pure maple syrup?
That's about where raw honey is. So there are some benefits, right? Raw honey has probiotics built into it. It's really great for allergies. But guess what it is also? Almost 100% pure fructose. Raw maple syrup, the grade B, the really dark amber stuff, that's also pure fructose. Yeah, but guess what it has in it? Things like magnesium and B vitamins. So it's definitely better than pure sugar and way better than something like aspartame, which breaks down to aspartic acid and formaldehyde in your body. Yes, ma'am.
After COVID, I talked about my sugar spiking
Yeah.
so badly. And he told me I wasn't getting enough fruit. I started getting fruit.
Yeah.
But took your advice and put it in with my morning shake.
Mhm.
You caffeine to it, the
Yeah.
protein shake. Doesn't spike my sugars as fast. That added with the protein,
Yeah.
I can flip something.
Yeah, absolutely. And if it's something like a strawberry, a frozen strawberry, or a frozen blueberry or frozen blackberries, those have so little sugar in it and come with so much fiber, you're not going to spike your sugars, not unless you're extremely sensitive to that level of sugar. All right. So to get the hormones back under control, we have something that we call the advance plan. The advance plan is designed to heal hormones. And so what we do here, there's 4 basic categories. And if you haven't heard this before, you probably want to write this down. But number 1, we're going to want to curb the carbs. So we got to pretty much eliminate the carbs from the diet to do the advanced plan well. And so that means that you're not getting any fruits, not unless it's a Granny Smith apple or a berry or a grapefruit. That's about it as far as fruits. Your veggies, you're cutting out all root vegetables because root vegetables are really high in sugar as well. So we're going to curb those carbs. There's no breads, there's no pastas, there's no potatoes. Like, you cut all that stuff out. Second thing we're going to do is we're going to fix the fats, because the fats have become so inflammatory the way that we've consumed them, that we're only going to do things like avocado oil if we're cooking, coconut oil if we're cooking, olive oil, but only raw, not cooked, not heated at all. Yeah, and pretty much just those 3. Those are your 3 fats. And then we're going to perfect your proteins. So that means animal sources, ideally, for most Americans. We love, especially Nebraskans, our beef. We're the beef state. We want to get grass-fed beef, because corn-fed beef is highly inflammatory. 17-to-1 omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acid ratio, where it should be 2-to-1. And grass-fed beef has that. We want that 2-to-1 ratio, so we go grass-fed beef. Fish, everybody's heard seafood is great for you. Well, not if it's farmed. Not if the fish are fed corn and grains and food pellets, because that's not what God designed them to eat. They're designed to eat other fish or small plants in the water. So get wild caught fish. And ideally not predator fish, because then they'll have a toxic bioaccumulation from consuming other animals. And then the last thing we need to do on that is we need to trash our toxins. So look out for those pesticides. Look out for the food wrapping. Is it covered in plastic? Yes, that plastic probably leached into that food. And so then from there, we've set ourselves up with what? Well, organic fruits, vegetables, organic dairy sources and meat sources, and something that's very similar to keto, very similar to paleo, but much cleaner. And so what we find is when people do this for 30 days, so long as they're avoiding their food sensitivities and food allergens, that their guts heal remarkably. Inflammation levels drop, and usually if the person is anywhat overweight, they lose 5 to 10 pounds along the way. So it's a great start for everything. But if you're looking for your baby step in this, guess what? Oh, where'd we go? This one. Fix breakfast first. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Now, I'm not telling you when to eat that, just that when you start with food, make sure that the first thing that you eat is also the most nutritious thing that you eat. So definitely don't go to a donut. Breakfast cereal, even if it's keto, is not going to do it.
Is that an egg and that?
That is a egg and spinach and cheese.
That looks very good.
It is very good. I've made that. Yeah, I've made that before. That is delicious. I highly recommend that. Some people, anybody not have time for breakfast in the morning? Yeah, you get busy. That's where the protein shakes come in. So what do? You get your handful of spinach, all your powders and your coconut oil and everything, dump it in the blender, stick it in the fridge overnight. Last thing you do in the morning, dump a handful of berries on top, and then some coconut milk, almond milk, whatever. Turn the blender on, less than 2 minutes, it's ready to go. Usually 30 seconds. Bone broth, yeah. Bone broth is great too. Yeah, and for joints, it makes all the difference in the world. For the gut, it helps with the healing there. We've got 3 different forms of protein here. Plant protein for people that really, for whatever reason, they prefer to consume plants as their main source of nutrients. And that's fine. I'm not going to judge them. This is the best tasting plant protein I know of. If you want the good tasting proteins though, grass-fed whey, and then the Pure Path proteins as well. The Pure Path proteins are from bone broth, which sounds like it would taste nasty. These are my favorite tasting ones though. They're the creamiest. They absorb into coffee well. If I forget to get a smoothie in the morning, I'll just dump a little bit of this into my water processed organic decaf coffee. And this is my creamer. And sometimes it's enough to be my sweetener too. That's a great start. This also absorbs in coffee. I find that it's also really good tasting. And for people that aren't dairy sensitive, this works better oftentimes than the Pure Path protein does. But that's 3 different options. What I love about ours, it doesn't have maltodextrin as its first ingredient, right? You're not getting sugar in this at all. It's stevia sweetened. It's all organic. If it's coming from an animal, it's grass-fed, pasture-raised. Even the plants, I mean, you're not going to get a cleaner source here. And because it tastes good, you want more of it, right? It doesn't taste chalky. I mean, this one does a little bit, but with plant protein, you're not going to get away from that. But those 2 don't taste chalky at all. And as far as meal replacements, these are great. Now, I don't want you living off of these things, but supplements are there to help you bridge the gap. Until you've fixed your diet, this can be a nice breakfast replacement in the meantime. Green Machine smoothie. Here's a recipe you might want to take a picture of. So this is caveat. If you're diabetic, don't start with this one. But take that frozen banana and switch that out for a cup of strawberries. And then maybe instead of the almond butter, do, oh yeah, no, you're good with the almond butter on this one. I prefer to do like oat milk yogurt, you know, just unsweetened with that. And you get that, the protein powder in there and you blend that up and that is fantastic. It gets you a nice green smoothie. But yeah, if you're not diabetic, the frozen banana, whew, makes that taste like ice cream. No, and I do. A recipe for ice cream, if you're diabetic, you can have this, but only sparingly. Frozen banana, 1/4 cup of peanut butter. Actually, you might want 2 frozen bananas. 1/4 cup of peanut butter, raw cacao, and then I like to hold the chocolate chips off until the very end, but I blend the peanut butter up with the cacao and the frozen bananas and just a little bit, just enough almond milk or coconut milk to let it mix. And then I'll scoop that out and sprinkle it with stevia sweetened chocolate chips. Oh, it's so good. So good.
Do you have any ready?
No, I don't. But you wrote that down, right?
Yeah, the coconut and the almond,
Mhm.
the 2 would you?
I think coconut is healthier than almonds.
Someone was saying
But
about
some,
the almonds do something to your stomach.
it can. It can have some of those plant lectins in it. It's a higher lectin plant, and it's very rich in omega-6s, which isn't a bad thing, but we're also distorted with our omega-6s and omega-3s that we need more omega-3s, and you're not going to distort that with the coconut. Yeah. So the other thing, and I want to get you as many resources as possible. Ancient Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine have known for a long time about specific herbs that help people balance their blood sugar. And all of these are examples of those herbs that have been established not just by those other medicines that are non-American, non-Western medicine, but also have been established in the research as good alternatives to things like insulin, things like metformin. And so you can get berberine, you can get fenugreek extract, you can get American ginseng, you can get Jemima extract, you can get cinnamon extract. And in fact, I actually sprinkle a little cinnamon in my coffee grounds before I do it so that it does have that blood sugar lowering effect in my coffee. But what we've done is we've actually put them together in a synergistic blend so that if you need help with your blood sugar, that glucose support can do that for you. It's not going to do it for you. Ultimately, you're just giving your body something that it can utilize to do what it was designed to do. But if you need that additional support and you need help in coming off of some of those medications, definitely don't jump off of diabetes medications at all. Wait until we get your blood sugar under control and then let your primary doctor help you come off of those and tell you which amounts you should be on. This is just a support tool that'll help you get there faster. Okay. Fiber. This is one that we should all be doing anyways, one that we avoid unnecessarily. Where should we get our fiber from? Yeah, fruits, vegetables. They're very rich in fiber. Guess where most people think they need their fiber from? Grains. Guess what grains are going to do? Spike their blood sugar. You're not getting enough fiber from your grains to make them worth the hassle. They don't have enough nutrients in them to make them worth the hassle. So we get our fiber from what's on the screen, right? Not just the words. So we get that. So for those of us that are still struggling to make these things a habit, we have fiber. It's a balance of soluble and insoluble fiber because both have a role in helping you to balance your blood sugar. It'll help take it out. Even when your body's releasing it from your liver, when glucagon's getting into your bloodstream, it's going to help even when your body's the one that's creating the sugar response there. So that's something that you can add to your smoothies to help balance out some of the naturally occurring fruit sugars. But a foundation here are those daily essentials. So the daily essentials, you can see come in these convenient boxes of packets, 30 individual packets that have 5 different supplements in them. It starts with the multivitamin. And the multivitamin, I think, is the most important supplement anybody can take. Because at its heart, nutrition is about giving your body the raw ingredients it needs to replace itself in a healthy way. Because your body's wisdom is infinite. There's no doctor in the world that's as smart as what your body can do. In fact, all the doctors in the world don't even equate to 30% of what your body knows how to do. But if you don't give your body what it needs in order to do the things it needs to do, it's not going to do that. And so the multivitamin is the very minimal barrier to get started. It takes all those nutrients, all the essential ones, even some non-essential ones, puts them together in a package, one for men, one for women. The men's is formulated to can help with prostate health. The women's is formulated to help with breast and reproductive health. I've been told that our women's formula is better than most prenatals. If you're looking to have babies, it's actually better than most of the prenatals on the market. Then the next most important one is vitamin D3, especially this time of year. Even though we got some sunshine today, guess what? The angle of the sun wasn't quite right, and we were still probably wearing our long sleeves. We're not getting enough vitamin D3 from the sunshine. During winter months, I recommend about 10,000 IUs. More if you're heavier, less if you're really light, but really high. During the winter or during summer months, probably need about 5,000 IUs because guess what? Most of us suntan for a living, right? We're not going out and laying out at the beach fully exposed for at least 30 minutes between the hours of 10 and 2. The next most important one in here, I think, is the omega, and it's actually, I would say it's tied with the vitamin D3, and it's because as Americans, our omegas are distorted. So the optimal omega is in the right ratio that it should be, that 2-to-1 ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acids. For some people who are so distorted with this, it creates so much inflammation that just getting on this is more potent than an ibuprofen or an aspirin as far as just managing pain levels. From there, it's a toss-up, and it's individualized between magnesium and B complex. Both of them are essential micronutrients that most Americans are deficient in. The magnesium, it's responsible for, or it's needed in over 300 different bodily functions and processes. And B complex, man, if you're drained of energy all the time, if you feel like I do with 3 kids running around in my hair, yeah, no, you're probably deficient in B vitamins. You burn through them. They're water-soluble vitamins. So if you're wondering where do I recommend you start, here. And if you're not a male, grab the female box, right? This is the starting point. From there, that's where you start adding in some of the other stuff. But before I get too far, I want Cheryl to share a little story about her story with blood sugar and one specific nutrient she was low in.
Yeah. So I've been, like, those of you who know what a hemoglobin A1C is, kind of tells you how much your blood sugar's been over the last 3 months. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're right.
Over your hemoglobin A1C. And mine was teetering, about 5.96, which my doctor was getting a little bit concerned about. My blood sugars were running 110, somewhere in there. but my potassium was low normal. And so I got to reading some information and I found out that, we know that the insulin opens up your cells so the sugar can get in. Well, when the insulin opens that cell, the potassium goes in. But if your potassium's low in your bloodstream, the potassium tells your pancreas not to make the insulin. And that makes your blood sugars go up. So my doctor prescribed potassium supplements for me. My blood sugar went back down to normal, went down to 85, I think. My hemoglobin A1C is about 5.4. So just that potassium supplement, even though I wasn't technically low calcium, I was on the borderline, but that made enough difference. And I did not want the diagnosis of diabetes. He wanted to start me on metformin, and I said no. So we went to the potassium route, which is a much better option. So.
Thank you for sharing, Cheryl. Yeah, it was amazing how fast that switched too, because we started talking about it as soon as she found out that we needed a test, and then they started the potassium almost right away. And by the next conversation, it was better.
6 weeks.
Yeah, it was a rapid turnaround. So testing also matters in this process too. Vitamin D3, very essential micronutrient. If your vitamin D3 is in the ideal range, guess what? We just want to support that. But if it's drastically low, there are things that we need to do to get that back into that normal range. Potassium, same. Calcium, same. But you need to know what to do with these things. So, figuring that out is important.
How much?
It just
Yeah.
depends. I started on 20 milliequivalents, and I'm right now taking 30 milliequivalents a day. And that was enough to get my potassium up to like 4.2.
Yeah, for some people, it's as simple as like, oh, let's eat more avocados, and you start feeling better. And it's like, oh yeah, there's some potassium in there. And if you're getting a lot of muscle cramps, that's a sign that you're low in potassium. It could be magnesium as well. It's not a straight one-to-one. Muscle cramps aren't always potassium. It's just the one that we go to. But avocados are a much better source of that than, say, a banana would be. It's much better for you and has lower sugar. So that's good. Thank you for that, Cheryl. The other thing that's going to affect your blood sugar, right? That emotional interference, stress being the number one. Stress is heightened during the holidays. 38% of people are more stressed during the holidays. But guess what? They did a measurement of crazy people, like clinically insane, in the 1950s and measured their stress levels. They did the same test on Americans today, like non-crazy ones, I don't know, maybe we're all crazy.
Without the diagnosis.
Yeah, without the diagnosis, without being considered clinically insane. And we were 70% higher than crazy people in the 1950s. That had those clinically diagnosed insanity. So we're dealing with more stress today. And some of it we do it ourselves, but even the stuff we do ourselves, it's cultural expectations, right? Because we have these amazing pieces of technology that are more robust than what put an astronaut in the moon in the 1960s. And we use that to keep track of our daily lives and our social lives and our agendas and our work and our personal lives. And it just starts going crazy. We've got, our kids are in 5 different sports and our grandkids are in 10 different sports across different states. And we got to get to all these things because people are expecting all this different stuff than we are. And guess what? We're doing it to ourselves. We give ourselves that stress. It releases that cortisol, it releases that adrenaline, it releases the epinephrine, the norepinephrine, and we get that sugar response. And so we really do. We have to back off of stress. And it increases those sugar levels. And then we start focusing on stress, because when we start eating more sugar, it makes us feel more stressed, makes us crave more sugar. It's a vicious cycle.
When the surgery for them, they would tell real fast, lower hemoglobin.
Yeah.
They give me more magnesium. That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So many people are deficient in magnesium, and then digestively too. It does help with digestive issues. But instead of focusing on stress, what should we be creating? Peace. We should be focusing on peace. What you focus on grows. If you spend all your time focusing on stress, guess what's going to be more prevalent in your life? Even if it's going away, all you're going to notice are the stressful things. It's like spending all day with a pessimist, you feel bad. You spend all day with an optimist, guess how you feel? Good. You are the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. Same goes for yourself. If you are the most pessimistic, stressed out person you know, guess what? You have to live with yourself. You're not going to be able to overcome that. So you have to focus on creating peace. So some different things you can do: simplify your schedule. I mean, look at your schedule first, right? I begin every week by looking at my schedule and the things I have coming up, and then making a decision is that too crazy? Do I need to cancel some things? Do I need to reschedule some things? And I've had the conversation with you guys before, many of you here in the room. Am I creating too much stress for you by asking you to be here too often? Because if driving across town to see me creates too much stress, then guess what? I don't want you to drive across town to see me quite so often. But if the reward of being here is worth more than the payment to get here and to get it, then absolutely, I want you to be able to do that. Deep breathing. I want everybody to take a deep breath in. Hold it for a moment, then slowly let it out. How much lighter do you feel? Just with one breath. If you're ever feeling stressed, stop, take a deep breath, take 2 deep breaths. If you need a third one, do it. Guess what? They're free. I didn't charge you for those. Exercise. Not only does exercise boost your body's ability to handle sugar better, it's also the #1 known research treatment for anxiety and depression. Better than all of the medications on the market. Performs better than 2 of them combined. It's incredible. Prayer and meditation absolutely help. And I can think of no better way to deal with stress or stressful situations than handing them to the creator of the universe and knowing that he's willing to take those on for me to the point that he sent his son to die on the cross on my behalf. It should, right? But how often do we need to take that breath before we think to take the time to pray, right? Absolutely. Get plenty of sleep. Guess what? The main reason that having kids makes you old isn't because you get older while you have kids. It's because they rob the sleep from you. Moms especially. Like I think about myself versus my wife. My son woke me up twice last night. I thought it was awful. He woke her up 6 times last night. Could be at this point. And eventually we need to break them of that habit because those nights without sleep rob years off of our lives. Shift your perspective, right? Optimism versus pessimism. What you focus on grows. And then focus on quality sleep, not quantity. If you're going to bed thinking, I need 8 hours, I need 8 hours, I need 8 hours, you're thinking about it wrong, because guess what? You're going to think yourself into a stressful situation where you don't get 8 hours anymore. But if you can say, man, let's go 2 quality hours of sleep right here. Let's do it. Yeah, that you'll get 1 solid sleep cycle. And guess what 1 solid sleep cycle leads to? 2. And then you're going to tie it into 3. And maybe you only get 6 hours of sleep, but you got high quality sleep as opposed to being stuck all night thinking about, man, I'm not going to get my 8 hours. All right? So we have to focus on the good stuff, focus on the quality. Sleep really does matter here. Sleep deprivation causes stress and inflammation, which impacts blood sugar levels. We saw this last weekend. We went from just one child having a little bit of stuffiness and fever to all 3 of them. I came home on Saturday to a pile of sick kids on my couch. And like, okay, let's figure out how to get you guys some sleep. But then they kept us up all night. So then my wife and I were struggling. And guess what? We looked worse. Not just before makeup. and before putting everything on, we got puffier. You know, we had more acne. We had, you know, all this stuff that we shouldn't have because we do the healthy stuff, but it led to all the things that eating bad sugar would, because not sleeping increases that stress. Exercise reduces stresses and increases insulin sensitivity. But guess what? Can you have type 2 diabetes and feel good? Yep. For most people, it starts out that way. Most people need to have type 2 diabetes for years before they start feeling bad. In fact, defining health as feeling good is your first step to failure in any regard, whether it comes to cancer or heart disease or diabetes, or let's just take a simple look at the spine. If you want to avoid back surgeries for the rest of your life, don't rely on how you feel to keep you healthy. Health is defined by the World Health Organization as a state of 100% optimal function and the ability of your body to heal. And that goes for all areas of life: mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual. You cannot be healthy unless you're healing and functioning at 100%. Problem is, we all base our health on how we feel. We can't get away from it. It's around us. It's what our parents taught us. It's what we've been doing for generations. But if you feel fine, there's no difference between 100% feeling and 61% feeling. You feel exactly the same. But then you let it go one tick further that direction because you didn't do the right things to keep yourself functioning well. And now you've got high blood pressure. Now you've got high cholesterol. Now your A1C is off. Now your blood insulin levels or your blood sugar levels are in the unhealthy range. It's like, oh my goodness, I don't know how this happened. I was fine yesterday. I felt fine this morning. Or, man, that headache came out of nowhere. I've never had headaches before. And then they give you a medication. And that medication may mask the symptom for a while, may help you control your diagnosis, but it doesn't address the function. If you want to get healthier, we have to address the function. And that starts with the central nervous system. The central nervous system controls all function and healing in every organ, cell, and tissue. For your heart to beat, for your lungs to breathe, for your pancreas to create insulin, for your digestive system to take that good, organic, clean food in and turn it into this living, loving, thinking clay, it has to do so through the nervous system first. And that's surrounded and protected by bone. That bone, the skull, surrounds and protects the brain. The spinal column in each individual vertebra surround and protect the brain stem. The spinal cord in each of those nerve roots as it exits off. It has a normal position. It should be straight up and down from the front with 3 45-degree curves from the side. And that position is perfectly protected. Problem comes when you move it out of alignment, even the smallest amount, and leave it there for 5 minutes or more. It not only starts to degenerate into arthritis, it also decreases the amount of signal running through that nerve at that level by as much as 60%. And if you can't communicate brain to organ or brain to tissue, guess what happens to that function? Drops down. We cut all the nerves that go to the heart, heart stops. We pinch those nerves going to the heart working at 100%? No, it's not. So we have to make sure that we're protecting that. Because you could do all the things that I just recommended you do. You could jump on the advanced plan. You could exercise every single day. You could practice positive affirmations and lifestyle habits and plan out your schedule and pray every single day. But if there's pressure, damage, or interference in your nervous system, guess what's still going to happen? That function is going to continue to go down. And those things aren't going to matter as much. The nervous system controls everything. But we need to make sure that that shield, the vertebra surrounding and protecting that, are in proper alignment. And the only way to do that is to take an x-ray. The x-ray is the only thing that tells us the alignment. You can't know if you have a healthy spine without an x-ray. This is why my x-rays are so cheap. Anybody else get $20 x-rays from their imaging center? No. And I do this because so many people don't know how healthy their spines are. $20 per film to see exactly what's going on. Because if we find subluxation is a misalignment of the spine creating neurological interference, not necessarily leading to pain, is less than 10% of the time, less than 20% of the time, this ever leads to pain. Because less than 20% of the nerves in your body, less than 10% of the nerves in your body control how you feel. Most of the time, subluxation leads to a physical interference that leads to a different health problem first. And how many of you guys have come to this office and experienced a symptom other than your pain going away just through adjusting? Most everybody, right? It may not have been overnight. We didn't cure anybody's diabetes with one adjustment, right? No, but pressure over time fixes the misalignment, just like pressure over time creates a misalignment. And guess what?
You definitely have metformin and
Your insurance doesn't care about this. Your insurance doesn't care about this at all. Medicare guidelines state that care that seeks to prevent disease, promote health, prolong and enhance the quality of life is not considered medically necessary. Your insurance does not want you to be healthy. Your insurance will pay for your metformin. Your insurance will pay for your insulin. Your insurance will pay for your doctor's visits to get your kidneys pumped out. It won't pay for you to get healthy. You're the only one that can choose for you to be healthy. So what are your action steps? Today, if you haven't had your spine checked, let's set it up. We're going to do that entire first exam for just 49 bucks. That includes x-rays. Everything you need to be able to see if you have a healthy nervous system. From there, it's the challenge. I failed this week in the 30-day challenge, right? I didn't complete it successfully. I'm restarting. I'm jumping back in. What is that 30-day challenge? Well, it starts with number one, with having something to measure. I'm going to take a picture. I'm going to weigh myself. All right, I'm 224 today, 5 pounds less than I was when I started the last 30-day challenge. Better. Take another picture. Let's see how we're doing. Yeah, you're beating me. Good job. Second step in this is the protein shake every daily and daily supplements. You're doing that every day. This is weekly, this is daily. 2 meals of every day, the advanced plan. The advanced plan, 2 meals. So 1 meal is the protein shake, 2 other meals are the advanced plan. Fourth here, half your body weight in ounces of water a day. You have to actually figure this out. I've got handouts for these ones. Yeah, you don't have this yet. Yes, you're welcome. Half your body weight in ounces of water every single day. So if you weigh 220, 224, that's 110 ounces of water. That's not 8-ounce glasses, is it? No, that would be way too little for me. I'd be way more dehydrated than I already feel.
One of you weigh about 290.
Guess what that is? 145 a day. Oh, of course, of course. To maintain that muscle, you'll need the 145 ounces of water a day. Also, you'll need 45 minutes of workout on a daily basis. Now, that's not 15 or 45 minutes of pumping muscle or pumping iron. That's not 45 minutes of wind sprints. That's not 45 minutes of jogging. That's 45 minutes of some activity. I would suggest starting with something like Max T3, where you're doing 15 minutes of high intensity interval training, so you get that metabolic effect and burn fat much more efficiently and control your blood glucose a whole lot better. But if it's walking, great. If it's air punches, punch the air. If it's kicking water in the bathtub, kick some water in the bathtub. Do it for 45 minutes. Do something for 45 minutes. Make sure you're following up with your chiropractic adjustments and home care, so that we keep that spine healthy. On this challenge, there's no alcohol or cheat meals. Other challenges, you could have one of those a week or every so often. This one, we're not doing it. And alcohol is, I didn't talk about it, but it's one of the quickest ways to get your blood sugar out of whack. And then 10 pages of reading for self-improvement. I would say the Bible is a great place to start with this. Nothing going to help you improve yourself faster than the Bible will. But this is not fiction. You're not doing fiction for those 10 pages. You know, this is another area where I fell off because I got my hands on a couple good fiction books, and it was so much easier to pick those up than it was to pick up the Bible or any self-improvement for that matter. So that's step 2. Step 3 is keep showing up. All right, I do one of these a month. Next month, the 28th, same date, same time, we're going to do our detox workshop. We typically call it spring cleaning, right? Because oftentimes we need to go through our cleaning supplies and start ditching the toxic cleaners, throwing them away, right? Oftentimes we need to go through just the environment that we live in and take out all of those artificial scents and perfumes and, you know, body products and pitch them out. So I'm going to help guide you in those next month. So that'll be the 28th at 6:30. same time, same channel, right? And then, keep an eye on what's going on in that schedule back there. Every Saturday at 10:30, we've got a fitness, or not 10:30, 10:15, we've got a fitness class. All right, this last Saturday we did Zumba. Miss Molly came in and taught us some Zumba, did some fun classes, stepped for about 30 minutes. Yeah. Yeah, we had some people doing it in chairs. We had some people doing it behind chairs. We had some people trying to look like me, and yeah, it was a blast. We had fun. But I encourage you guys, if you don't have a group of people to work out with on a regular basis, come work out with us on Saturdays. This Saturday, we're going to be doing more of a flexibility routine, which is like a low impact, like beginner's level yoga, right?
Yeah.
Just really easy stuff to get yourself moving and flexible. For those of you that are believers and don't work Fridays at noon, every fourth Friday at noon, we pray for as long as we need to. And our focus is on transforming the current medical monopoly that's out there that focuses on just your symptoms and your diagnoses to switch to this. I think we have a legitimate replacement right here in this room. I truly believe that. I truly believe that people can get healthy here. And I believe that insurance can be a part of that if they want to. But it starts with prayer, but it also starts with taking that prayer and turning it into self-application, doesn't it? Right? Yeah. Faith without works is dead. We got to do it. But we also have to pray for it. We have to unleash the gates of heaven here. So we do that every fourth Friday at noon. But yeah, just keep your eyes on that calendar. We'll post these things up. Connect with us. Just been starting to tell people I've got a TikTok. I post a lot of stuff on that on that channel. So just look for me on TikTok. Look for me on Instagram. Look for me on Facebook. I'm posting good stuff there. Question?
A lot of the things that Medicare insurance pay for actually still.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. So, any other questions before we go? And some of you are here for the very first time this month. For those of you that are here for the very first time this year, sorry, not month, very first time this year for a workshop, make sure to get your Wellness Warrior cards. That card, when you pick it up, entitles you to 6% off all supplement purchases at any time, on top of whatever other discounts you're already getting. When you're here at a workshop, guess what? You get 15% off MSRP. So if you get that card, you're up to 21% off already. If you have that card from last month, you get another punch this month. You'll get another punch every time you show up to classes. So you'll be up to 7% tonight, so 22% off. But yeah, that 7% is good for the rest of the month. So make sure you get those before you go. Yes, ma'am.
What do you suggest for somebody who has that high blood sugar, like they're in a state at that point when it's really high?
Yep.
What do you suggest?
Like crisis state, like what should I do in this moment? Or in general, it's there
Well,
always.
Well, it kind of goes up, down. So when they're in the high state, it's
Mhm.
like a person's personality changes a bit.
Yep.
Just different things like that. But I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
My take of it is water.
Yeah.
Water.
Yeah, I think that's a great start. I would also recommend movement of some kind. Try to get their blood regulation or the glucose regulation in a good place by just getting them to move a little bit. That's a great start to just get them out of that funk, if you can get them to do that, because sometimes the mental state starts to go when the blood sugar goes that high. So motivating them to do anything. But water is good. And then, just, maybe sometimes relaxation, because that cortisol, especially if the mental state gets off, get them in a hot bath with Epsom salts. Could be a good idea as well. No, maybe that'd be better for her. Possibly, but maybe a hot shower, back rubs. Oh no.
I am, but I didn't
Yeah.
want to say it. Now you know.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
It did get really high, and we didn't want to go to the hospital.
Yeah. I would say with the beginner, the starter step is always have a nervous system evaluation, see if it's running healthy. And then from there, let's pick out what the highest priority thing is. What do we need to do just generally? Because there's a lot of stuff we could start you guys on. But let's see what that nervous system is doing first. Yeah. Yeah, but they haven't checked your nervous system yet, have they? No, they don't. They don't. They don't know how to look at that yet. All right. Any other questions? Text me. My number is 402-413-8825. Happy to address those questions for you for the rest of the night. Or if you want to go back to the Facebook live stream, put your questions on there so everybody can see the answers as well. I'm happy to answer those for you guys too. And share that video as well. If you know somebody that is a diabetic or struggles with blood sugar, share that with them, share that with family members so they know what's going on. Yeah. Yeah, low sugar, low salt.